Matthew chapter 2. We'll be going through verses 1 to 11, the section, The Visit of the Magi, with number 3097 be our word theme for this section, which is Magi. The Visit of the Magi. This goes up into Bethlehem, but you'll notice it jumps from the angel talking to Joseph all the way to Bethlehem, but we know other things happened because in the book of Luke, Luke has other things that Matthew doesn't have. Luke was a physician who was a traveling companion to Paul, a learned man, and he also wrote the book of Acts. I believe that someone to be able to write something in such detail and not being an eyewitness, that he probably went to Israel, looked up Mary, and received all the information that he wrote down in the second chapter of Luke, which does not appear in Matthew. But it happened before Matthew 2. So to go through that, we go to Luke here, and we see in Luke verse 126, it says, "And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent by God unto a city of Galilee, the name Nazareth." So the things that happened to Joseph earlier in the first chapter happened in the city of Nazareth, we're told here in Luke. I don't believe it mentions Nazareth in the first chapter. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm not. And so now Luke chapter 2 goes into Jesus being born in Bethlehem. And we can go all the way through that. In those days, a decree went, Caesar Augustus, to register the inhabitable world. Mary and Joseph go back to Bethlehem, and she has a baby in the stable. And then the shepherds are out in the field. The angels appeared to them, and the babe, calls him a babe, Vrephos, 10:25, and it says in 2:12, "And this is a sign to you, you will find the babe being swaddled, lying in a stable." So they see him right at his birth, the first ones to see Jesus. Then we go in, continue on down in verse 2, and we come to the circumcision of Jesus, which was 8 days later. That's when the circumcision was to be held. So they were in Bethlehem, as close to Jerusalem. Now, I'm not sure if it says here if he was circumcised in Jerusalem or circumcised in Bethlehem, but I think it led him to Jerusalem. So they rendered to the Lord. So they did go to Jerusalem. And then continues down, and at that period of time we have the story of Simeon appearing at the temple, and then Anna appears in the temple, followed by the end of the story, because then next jumps forward 12 years to Jesus. Child Jesus is in the temple. So all these things happened before the Magi story. Now we'll go back to our story in chapter 2. It says, "Tu the Isu genithentos." When you see a thentos, it's a participle. And a participle generally is a gerund having an ing on it, or an ed. Now, of Jesus having been born in, so that's a preposition. And there's this postpositive that goes in front in pronunciation, but there's the "to" is the article. Now, the article, I don't have a "the," because it would be the, they, isu. So in English, the way I have it, makes more sense now, but of Jesus, I left out the "to," which I do on most places, not everyone, but quite a few, because it just doesn't need, the article does not appear in the English. We don't say, we say, "I'm going to the store," but the Charles is not going to the store if there's no article in front of the person and other things. Now, so Jesus, of Jesus having been born in Bethlehem, of Jesus, this is about, possessive, about it, of him having been born in Bethlehem, of Judea. Another, there's an in again, in the days, and here it's in time, in a time, in the days, imeres. I have dative plural here. And dative means it's an indirect object. We had, before we had the noun was the nominative. Remember, that was the subject. Jesus was not here, but the subject was in the nominative. And then the genitive is of, possessive, and then the accusative was the object. The man would be the nominative subject, and went would be the verb. And then to, we had to, or in, is called an indirect object. He went in the days to the store, and the store would be the object, because that was in the accusative. So in or to are what's they called dative, and they have different endings. Here it's ace. You can look up 2250 in the Analytical Lexicon, and you can see how the structure works out there. So anyway, so in the days of Erodu to Basileos, the king, Basilica, idou Magi apo Anatolon paragenonto is Jerusalema, Magi. Now the Magi in 3097, we first see Magi in the book of Daniel. It says in Daniel 1:20, and in every discourse of wisdom and higher knowledge, as much as the king sought from them, he found them 10 times, that would be the 3 men, the Jews that came from Jerusalem. He found them 10 times more than all the enchanters, and the Magi being in all of his kingdom. So the Magi were basically followers of Zarathustra, who were become Zoroastrians, or it's a religion, a Zoroastrian religion. And they were a religion in Iran, and it was, well, we'll go through a little bit here down further when we get down to the section here, but the Magi first appeared in Daniel 1:20, and then in 2:2 also it mentions them. And then in Daniel 2:27 it says, and Daniel answered before the king, different king, and he said, the mystery which the king asks is not of wise ones, Magi, enchanters, astrologers, to announce to the king. And that's also in Daniel 4:7, 5:7, 11, and 15, all talking about the Magi. They were there in Babylon. Then we jump forward in time to the book of Acts. In chapter 8, verse 9, it says, and a certain man by name Simon, beforehand in the city, was practicing magic. And that means he was a Magi. He was practicing. That's where the word magic, Magi, where it comes from. And he was amazing the nation of Samaria, saying himself to be some great one, to whom all gave heed, from small unto great. Again, as I was mentioning, the Magi was a pre-Islamic religion of Iran, lasted until Islam came. Islam pretty well decimated the followers of Zoroaster. Zarathustra was the prophet. He was approximately around the time of Cyrus the Great, right before we were in Habakkuk. Before Habakkuk, that's when Zarathustra lived in time of Cyrus. And then his name again was his religion, was changed from Zarathustra to the Zoroastrian. Zoroaster, we'll see down here about a star coming, And the star is an aster. And Zo is living, and so his name, or the name of the religion, was a living star. So these people were stargazers. They inspired magic and astrology in their studies. They had more or less a religion of, I think it was called dualism, between good and evil, an ethical good and an ethical evil. They had free choice also. They believed in free choice. And it talks about the Zoroastrian cosmogony and cosmology in the book of Pahlavi. It's called Buddhism. You can look all this up in Wikipedia, find out about the Zoroastrians and the Magi. Now, in verse 1, Jesus, having been born, behold, Magi from the east came into Jerusalem. Well, it's interesting, though, but it doesn't say how many. Traditionally, they have 3, maybe because of they brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Could have been 2, it could have been 4. Don't know. And they came from Anatolon. We have Anatolia, which is generally another word for Turkey today, unto Paragenonto is Jerusalema, and here is into, not in, like this is an in preposition, in, or into is is. It's also one, different than a preposition, though number 1. But here it's is, into, or unto Jerusalem. Could be either one. And then continues in verse 2, legontes. Remember I said the leg has something to do with speech and talk. I'll bring that up over and over so you can get the idea of 3004. You'll see with the leg saying, it's a participle, gerin with the ing, saying, Pu estin o tekthis vasilevs ton iudeon. Where? Pu is where? Pu estin o tekthis. Vasilevs, where is the one having been born king of the Iudeon, of the Jews? Now, how did they know that there was supposed to be a king being born of the Jews? It must have been told to them somehow, and we don't know how. Through a dream, possibly, through the angel coming. It says, they say, Idol mengar av tu, ton astera inti Anatoli. There's the now gar is another postpositive like day, the delta epsilon. Gar is far. Far we beheld. So here's that bracket structure. So 1492 is Edelman, 1063 is gar, but because of that structure, you've pushed the last word to the first. For we beheld his, of two, is a pronoun, of two. I have the pronouns here. Here they are, pronoun, personal pronoun. If there's anything you want to learn, memorize even maybe 1473, of two, we see it down here. It's masculine or neuter, genitive, and third person singular. So you get that in the analytical lexicon. Now you can go to a grammar, a Greek grammar, and they would have it laid out in a paradigm with 3 columns for the singular and 3 columns for the plural, and each column would have 5 words. It would be the nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and vocative of the 4 layers, and then it would have in the 3 sections with the singular on the left and the plural on the right, and then the masculine, feminine, and neuter singular, the 3 columns on the left, masculine, feminine, neuter on the 3 columns on the right. If you want to go and find it, maybe I'll put that up here later and add it in. Now going back, for we beheld his star, of two, astera, in the east. So they were in the east, and the Anatolia again, and ke ilthomen proskinise avto. Now this is 1473. See, there's 1473, avtu. This is avto. This is the dative singular, if you looked it up. To him. The dative, remember, is something in or by. We came to do obeisance to him. And proskinise is to do obeisance, is to go put your face on the ground like the Muslims do on those prayer rugs in front of a higher authority, a general or God or head of a family or so forth, where the King James turned this into worship. But worship, the English word worship changed to meaning to have a worship service, which has nothing to do with doing obeisance. So here's a big advantage of going back to the original Greek. You find out that the Bibles that use worship are not correct. It has nothing to do with music. And then in verse 3 it continues, acousis, and that's acoustics, comes from that word, acoustic. They, here's the postpositive, they, goes in front. Then you could have but hearing or and hearing, when hearing, kind of whatever word sounds the best to you, because we're translating it, picking out the English word. There's no English given to us, given to you. That's why, because I put when, but if you don't like when, you could put but, no problem. You change the translation. But hearing, Herodes, Herod, O Vasilevs, the king. Now it's a nominative because we have the article. Oh, let's go to articles. That's 3588. Now we'll go to 3588. Here it is. It's an adjective because it modifies something, a person's name or whatever. The man, the car, well, we won't have a car here, but the horse, 3588, and then all the way down. And it'll tell you now these are something you would want to learn first. You can also get a paradigm on that. I'll put that up if you want to learn it the other way with the 6 columns, 4 lines, 5 lines. So that is, and there it is, masculine, nominative, singular. So when the nominatives are all the subject. So let's go down them here. Nominative, feminine, subject, a. Whenever you see a somebody, it's a feminine, and that is the nominative. It doesn't always have to be a woman. There are things that are man-made, like ships. We even today call a ship a she or her. She was a good ship. Feminine, nominative, nominative, nominative. All those are nominatives. Ta, plural. And then we go on down. There's one that could be either one. To. Could be nominative or accusative. You have to figure that out by the structure of the sentence. And then not as much to learn with the articles. And continues in verse 3. Acousis, acoustics, acousis, when hearing, Herod the king was disturbed. Ke pasa Jerusalema met avtu. And remember this here we had last time. It's a meta, which is a preposition with. You're with something. And the alpha is elided. It's not there, but the accent mark shows that it should be, or it would be, if it wasn't followed by a vowel. I think if it's vowel followed by a consonant, then it would be meta, whatever that word would be, following. In verse 4, Ke synagogon pantes tus archiaris ke grammatis tu leu. And gathering together, a synagogue is from that word there. Pontus, we have pan, all, pandemic, all, the archiaris, 749. You can look that up in our English derivatives from the Greek New Testament. Let me grab it here. Here's my poor example of a tattered book, but this doesn't go there, but this is English derivatives from the Greek New Testament. And all these orange highlighted words are in that book and helps you pronounce it and so forth. So gathering together all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, epinthanato par afton tu pu o Christos genate. And he inquired from, this is para, this is another preposition. Next video, I'll put up the preposition list. Para, now this should be an A, alpha, but it's followed with a vowel, so it's elided, parafton. If it was a consonant, a B, a D, G, then it would be para. He inquired from them where the Christ is born. So he got these religious people, because Herod was actually an Idumean, from Idumea. He wasn't Jewish. And he was put in there by Julius Caesar, I believe, made king of Israel. Ide ipon afto, and they said to him, that e, if you look that up, it's plural, the nominative, and that would be the Magi. So the Magi said to him, now there is another pronoun of 1473, and they said to him is the pronoun in 1473. So that's the ones I just showed you the listing in the analytical lexicon, the article 3588, and the pronoun 1473. So we'll see which we can find which one next. And then there's a preposition, and they said to him, in Bethlehem tis Iudeas, in Bethlehem of Judea. And see, there's the 3588, the article. Almost every verse has it, so you'll want to learn it. Tis Iudeas, in Bethlehem of Judea, the genitive, it's of Judea, and Iudeas. Utogar gegrapte via to profitu. For thus, and remember the for, that's a postpositive, it goes in the front, there's that structure. So, for thus, but yet 3779 is attached to uto, 1063 is gar, if you looked them up, those are the ones you'd look up, that number right above, they're correct. But the words are the opposite, the English words. For it has been written by or through via, we have diameter, another preposition, by the profitu. Now, prepositions can be difficult because what somebody uses a preposition in another language and you're translating it from what's Greek into English, let's say the Greek could, when a man was in trouble with his wife, the English could say he's in the doghouse, in the doghouse. But in Greek, they might say he's upon the doghouse or under the doghouse. So you would have a different meaning. You wouldn't translate it under. See, if it was, because if it meant under, and they said to him under Bethlehem, well, under wouldn't be correct. Even though if it was the Greek word for under, it would be correct, but you have to use the English in Bethlehem, but here it is in. Actually, en, epsilon ni, in Bethlehem of Judea. Uto gar, there's the gar, gegrapte theato prophetu, I already did that one, through the prophet. And then it quotes Micah 5:2. Kesi Bethlehem gi Juda, udamos elakisti e, entis igemosin Juda. But you, Bethlehem, and there's and, can be, generally it's and you, Bethlehem, it could be. If you wanted to put and in there, you can, or but there's no postpositive here because this K is not a postpositive word. De and gar are. But you, Bethlehem, now that the scribes are telling Herod this, quoting this to show him where he's supposed to be born in Bethlehem. Gi Judah. Gi We see that over and over. One of the most used nouns, it's land or country, dirt, ground, geology comes from that. Land of Judah, Bethlehem of Judah, down close to Jerusalem. Udamos elakisti e, or not at all least. In tis igimosin iuda. In the governs, a hegemon, in the governs of Judah, preposition, article, and then ek su guard. See, now there's that guard, the postpositive. Here it's two words past, but it still jumps in front. Far, from out of you, ek su guard. Otherwise it would be from out of you far. Exolevsete, egumenos. For from out of you will come forth one leading, the hegemon. Ostus pimeni ton leon mu ton Israel, who will tend. This is a shepherd, ton leon. Now see, you wouldn't write who will tend the people. Well, you could. If you wanted to, who will tend the people of mine would be the other way. I ran across this early in my translation. I'm going, oh boy, should I use that? Because this doesn't sound right in English. Who will tend the people of mine? Well, I could have done that. But here I just deleted the. Who will tend my people? Then there's another one, ton Israel. Who will tend the people, mu of mine, the Israel? In verse 7, Tote Herodes, then Herod, Lathra, Kalesus, too, called the Magus. And so he's calling the Magus to come back in. And Ikrivotse par avton, ton chronon tu phenomenu austeros. And he exacted from them, there's another preposition with the A missing, alpha missing, because it's an alpha here. From them, the time, the chronon, chronology, it's in the book, English derivatives. To, of the, there's 3588, that's that article again, a congenitive of the possessing the time of the, appearing a star. Now you leave without the. I have it the star of the star appearing. The appearing star would be modifying, the word appearing would be modifying the star, and it's really not. It's the star, what the star is doing is it is appearing. So that's a correct, better way of doing it than just going through. Greeks apparently can figure this all out in their brain. They know it inside out and backwards. That's what they brought up in. But we haven't been, I haven't been, so we're going through it this way. Now, they apparently had come from a long ways because we find out there was like a 2-year period when this all happened when they went to Bethlehem. And so someplace in that 2-year period of time. And then it continues in 8, Ke pempsas avtus is Vithlaem, and having sent them unto Bethlehem, Epe, he said that would be Herod. Porev thentos, he having gone, akrivos, exetasite peri to pediu, exactly inquire concerning, and that's another preposition, around, peri, a periscope, looking around, peri, but in the genitive, it's concerning the child, find out about him. Upon they, there's the postpositive, and when, or but when, every te, But when you should have found, and this is should is a subjunctive, you should. It could have been you do it in the imperative, but it's not. It's subjunctive. You should, whenever you should have found, apangilate me. Now, do you remember in the last, one of the last two videos, I had the alpha, gamma, gamma for the angelos, and I mentioned it had to do with a messenger. Anything to do with and here it's a report, because it has alpha P in front, and that is op, and it turns it into a report, or the verb is a report. And then this exclamation makes this to be an imperative. The ending, we haven't got into verbs at all hardly, but it's an imperative verb. Report to me. And me is at 1473, to me in the dative singular, because report to me. Remember I was mentioning whenever it's to me or in me, then it's generally dative. Opos kago elthon proskiniso avto. He's lying. So that also I, kago, we have ego, I, and k, together kago. I also, having come, should do obeisance, that is, at putting yourself on the ground, avto to him, 1473. The pronoun, again, to him. Verse 9, it continues, e they. Now, who is the e? E would be the Magi, because I think that would be the next one before. It gets kind of confusing when you're trying to figure it out, but you know this is the subject of the sentence because it's a nominative, e, they. And then there's the postpositive, but they or then they. Akusantes tu Vasileos ek porevthisan. Having heard the king, they went. Ke idu, and behold, idu is, whoa, behold. O, now there's the article. O is the nominative. The, austere, the star. That's in the book. Which u idon enti Anatoli proegon of tus. So, behold, the star which they beheld in the east. Now, did they behold it in the east, or were they in the east beholding the star? Oh, I believe they were in the east beholding the star. And now, what made this star different than any other star? It led before them. It led before them. So now we find out later here that when they go there to see baby Jesus in Bethlehem, that the star stops. Now, what kind of star stops? And how can they follow a star from Mesopotamia over towards Iran all the way across the Fertile Crescent, which is a big giant curve? You're going along the Tigris and Euphrates River. You get up and go across where Turkey is, and you go down into Lebanon, Syria, Lebanon, and down into Egypt. Finally, you arrive Jerusalem. Now, they were over here, and the star, is it going to go all the way around? They're going to follow it? Well, I looked it up, and a star right here. We have one thing. You can look this one up here on the internet, and it has, do stars move? Well, everything moves in the heaven. Stars, like the planet Earth, turns around. It goes in an elliptical circuit, and then around the sun's moving, and the cosmos is moving. Everything is moving. But in this next article I was reading, Space, the Star of Bethlehem, it says, however, as the Magi trekked towards Jerusalem and on to Bethlehem, it seems unlikely that they followed a comet, because its position would have changed as the Earth rotated, so the comet would not have led them in a single direction. We can also rule out novas and supernovas. Either event would have resulted in a detectable remnant, but astronomers have not found anything that might date back to this time. Furthermore, had the Magi followed one, they probably would have walked in a circle. You can't follow a star from Baghdad to Jerusalem to Bethlehem. Weintraub said, stars don't do that. They rise and set, and they don't sit in the sky. And then astrology was widely used at the time, and with the Magi coming from Babylon, it's plausible that they were astrologers. And due to a particular alignment of planets and stars, they may have read a hidden meaning among the stars, leading them to King Herod. Well, that's a good idea, possibly. I'd rather prefer God telling them. The other, more astronomical, explanation is that there was indeed a bright object in the sky, a conjunction between planets and stars. A conjunction occurs when two or more celestial bodies appear to meet in the night sky from our location on Earth. Although scientists have ruled out several possibilities, we may never know for sure what the Star of Bethlehem was or if it even really happened, barring some remarkable archaeological findings. Well, they don't read the Bible because it's obvious what it was. We see it in Revelation 21:24. It says, and the nations shall walk by her light. Whose light? New Jerusalem. Gone through New Jerusalem. It's in Revelation 21. It stops, and it stopped for the Magi. And it's going to come down. It's a cube, and it has light, and it's going to go around the earth different ways. It says at the nighttime it will shine on the earth more than during the day and other times. And the kings of the earth shall bring their glory and their honor unto her. Oh, that's exactly what the Magi are doing. They're bringing the glory and honor to her unto Jesus. Revelation 21:24 about the New Jerusalem. It got me excited when I was seeing that. And behold, the austere on Edon in te Anatoli, eproigen avtus, led before them the star which they beheld in the east. Eos elthon esti, epano u in topaidion. Now he's not a brephos. He's no longer a babe. But they're still in Jerusalem, so they could have been there for a couple of years before they went back up to Nazareth again. And it does say that after Mary was cleansed at the 33 days, and then later it says that they went back to Nazareth. There in Luke. I think it's right after Anna. So it stood. So it can't be a star. They call it an austere, but I guess you call New Jerusalem an austere too. And where the child was. And idontes they ton austera, and beholding the star, but beholding, then beholding, postpositive again, Astera, Harison, Haran, Megalin, Sfordra. They rejoiced, a great, mega, there's mega, a great Haran, joy, exceedingly, J-O-Y. You know what joy means, J-O-Y? J, Jesus first, O, other second, Y, U, third. Heard that in a Bible study once. Ke elthontus is tin ikion, edon tob pedion, meta marias. See, now there's the met without that little accent mark, and it has the alpha because it is a consonant. M, or me. I got to get used to saying the Greek pronunciation for the letters instead of English. You have to break a bad habit there. So having come into the residence, they saw the child with Mary, the Marias, the nominative, his mother, the mother of him. You could say that, the mother, mitros, maternal of him. It doesn't say Joseph, interestingly. Ke pesontes prosakinas and afto, having fallen. See, they didn't pull out a guitar and start playing worship music. No, they fell on their face. Some Muslims do, and maybe the Christians should too. And they did obeisance to him. And who would that to him be? That would be to the child. Wouldn't be Mary because she's feminine. And this is masculine. And it's nobody else. Ke anixantes tus thesavrus avton, and having opened there is a 1473. What is that? Remember, that's the pronoun, avton. There, who was there, the Magi. Their treasuries. We have the English word thesaurus, and that's why it's in orange in that book. Prosinakan avto dhora. Krison ke Livanon ke Smyrnan. And having opened their treasuries, just as they will in New Jerusalem, they offered to him, masculine Jesus, gifts. And they were gold and frankincense and myrrh. Really interesting, isn't it, going through it this way? Way different than the Old Testament, just doing the English. You're learning a lot. You're translating already. You know, the post-positive, to put it before, probably don't have to tell you hardly anymore. The different words, K, and, Gi, geology, the article, 3588, the articles, and the pronouns, 1473. Learn all that in this section, you're doing well. You all get an A. Next, the flight into Egypt. And we'll go through there and find out that.